ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Hey, thanks for being here. It's the Roundtable Talks, and today we have I don't know how to write a song, like, at all. I've maybe sung a song. I've talked to people about writing songs, but I've heard about a magical formula that writes songs. Well, our next guest is somebody who has made quite a splash on social media talking about the tricks of the trade and how songwriters make us feel a certain feel. You ever a song that just makes you cry or makes you dance or makes you smile? Well, Brett Boles is here to tell us all about how that has happened. And hundreds of thousands of you have been infatuated, and now he can teach you. He can come into your house virtually and tell you all about it. Brett, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. So first, let's get started. How the hell did this happen?
What a great question. I've been writing songs for a long time. I've been a public school teacher now for 5 years. And during the pandemic, I started this thing thinking, hey, if I can teach a few hundred people about songwriting, maybe that would be kind of cool. And, a year and a half later, what was, a few hundred has ballooned to a few 100,000. So here we are.
Well, Brett, what I've gone in the rabbit hole of you on TikTok and on social media. We have your if you want to follow, he's on TikTok. You can follow at Brett Boles, and you know about the MT and on Instagram there as well. Firstly, thank you for being a public school. I'm a 5th grade teacher here in New Jersey for the past 15 years, and that is quite the service. So, where do you teach, if you don't mind, and what do you teach?
Yeah. I teach in West Hartford in Connecticut at a high school, Hall High School, and I teach choir. I
want you to be my choir teacher.
You're not the only person to say that.
How cool is that? All right, so you're a songwriter. You have written musicals and songs and have done song cycles and have worked at all over New York and around the country putting on shows and working with a whole bunch of artists.
Yep.
And how did you learn? Was it something that, music sometimes is innate, part of it's innate, I believe. We're born with certain skills. And then there's also some learned behaviors that musicians and songwriters and composers use. So for you, how was the journey to figuring out the constructs of how somebody puts together a song?
Yeah, so I started as a performer, as a musical theater performer, and sort of found my way into writing in high school. And I went to college and got a music composition degree. So I sort of learned, that was more classical composition there, but I did have a teacher who was a musical theater lover. And so we kind of bonded over that. And we would have our lessons every week, and he'd be sitting over my shoulder at the piano, and I'd be playing him something I wrote. And he would, he'd kind of lean over and go, is that really the chord you want? You can do better than that. Or what about this? If you think about this lyric, what if you paired it with this chord? Maybe that would help you feel. So with the two of us working together, that was the first time that I really felt like what we call prosody, right? The everything in a song working together to tell the story you're trying to tell. And then after that, I joined the BMI musical theater workshop in New York as a lyricist, where I really learned how to write lyrics. And when I was paired with some different composers, we would work together and try to find the best way of setting a lyric to music or setting music to a lyric. And that's where I really kind of honed the craft. And then just when you do something long enough, it becomes second nature. But the more I started doing this program, this series, the MT, the more I started really kind of looking at things and picking them apart. So as I'm teaching people, I'm learning at the same time, which has been the best journey ever.
Well, what I love about it is that I'm a musical theater nerd, and I know many people who watch this show are as well. But I also I was a music business major before I was a teacher. I love the trends in art, and as much people complain about current music, I just love what is hitting the audiences and what is interesting to the audiences. And what you do is you don't just take the musical theater song from the 60s, 70s, 80s, et cetera, through the history. You also talk about pop music, the way pop music is structured. If it's the Taylor Swift album and you've done a whole series of videos on that, or if it's a movie soundtrack, or if it's the new Broadway show. When you're an aspiring songwriter, what advice do you give to people about how to figure out what is it? Do you believe in classes? Do you believe in teaching? Is it about education? Is it about knowledge? What are the tricks to just become immersed in that world so you can kind of pick out the things that makes the most sense?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is to is to listen to everything, but not passively. I think you have to listen critically, which is kind of the skill that I'm trying to develop in people. Um, and to be a songwriter, I mean, yes, you have to have some rudimentary musical knowledge if you're going to be writing melodies and harmonies and stuff. But when it comes to writing lyrics, I mean, anybody can do that. So what it comes down to is really listening for, like in your favorite songs, for example, like listening for specific imagery that artists and songwriters are using, right? Showing, not telling. I mean, you learn that in English class in high school, right? But the same thing is true in songwriting. The more specific imagery you can use to draw your audience in, the more engaged your audience is going to be in the song that you're writing. And so from a lyric standpoint, I think that's huge. And so the best way to learn how to do that is to listen for it in the stuff that you really love.
That makes total sense to me. What I also love about what you do when you break down songs is that you're not, Brett, you're not like a snobby music snob here. You take because I think for a lot of people, no, I think for a lot of people who are very in industry or they are musicians, they can look at current music or some Broadway music or some cartoon music and kind of poo-poo it. But you really show us that if it's Taylor Swift or if it's a Disney movie or if it's that there is a real art and there is a real thought process behind not only the lyrics, but also the music and the structure of the song as well.
Sure. No, there is. And I think it's sort of self-defeating in a way to be snobby about this stuff. I mean, the masses appreciate all of this stuff, and it's because the people who write it are really good at what they do. At least the people who write the good stuff are really good at what they do. But I think there's it's no less of an art form. Even though the people who create a lot of the songs that you're listening to on the radio may not be as classically trained in music theory as people who are writing concert music, for example, it doesn't mean that there's any less thought that goes into creating them. And a lot of it is intuitive. And I want to make sure that I don't want to say that everybody who's writing like Taylor Swift or Adele, they're not always all thinking about, oh, I'm going to use this, chord with a raised ninth here because that symbolizes, like, not everybody is thinking that way, but there's an intuition that comes from doing something a lot or having a sense of something. And then it's my job, I feel, to kind of tell you why that sounds cool or why that artist's intuition led them to this moment, even if they didn't even realize it, right? There's something going on there that's innately right. So what is that thing? And that's how I see my job, is to break that down.
Well, and you do it so well, and it's so entertaining, and you sit at the piano and you have such a fun style of playing and conversation, and you make us feel like we're not as smart as we may really be. You make us do it in a way that understands. We had the folk singer Dar Williams on the show, and she wrote a book called How to Write a Song That Matters. And she got on me about the fact that, my ability on a piano is to play a C chord, a G7, and an F sharp, maybe. And she was like, it doesn't matter how much music you can play. You can sit with a friend who plays guitar and you can go chord by chord and figure things out and find feelings, even if you don't know how to verbally use the music. So when you're starting something like classes with you, do I have to come to a Brett class and be able to be a concert pianist? Do I have to be my music theory has to be on the level of Beethoven, or can I just show up and say I think I have something to say?
No, absolutely no experience necessary at all. And in fact, sometimes that's better. You come as a clean slate. And I think the first thing to start with before anything else, the first thing is lyrics, right? I think that's because everything is about, for me anyway, everything is about text. What are you trying to say? What is the message of the thing you're trying to say? Because we all have something to say, right? And I am going to be offering small group classes as well. So for people who are more comfortable writing lyrics and maybe don't have a lot of experience writing music, there will be other people in those small groups who do that. And so together we can sort of work as a community and engage each other in writing some really fantastic things.
That's awesome. So I see that on your social media links, there's a songwriting survey that's out today. You can go to the links that we've been showing on TikTok or on Instagram, his link tree, etc. And when we fill this out, what is this going to do? What's coming down the pike for all that you're doing with music?
So this survey is basically to give me some information about where everyone is coming from, in terms of geographically, also because time zones are important, but also in terms of what your level of experience is. So I can get a sense and start building at least building an idea of classes based on how many people respond and what everybody's level of experience is, and whether people are looking for one-on-one instruction, small group instruction, or a larger group discussion and analysis. So that'll give me a sense of what everyone's looking for.
That's awesome. The link is available. It's on the Instagram page, and it's also on the TikTok page. So if you want to go follow and click the link and fill out the form, and then in a little while you can be, learning about how to write a song right here with this guy. So what was the moment? Is there one specific, I mean, you have lots of people who now have followed you. You've gotten some fun, conversations back at you about sharing secrets and spilling secrets with songwriters. What was the moment? Was there a specific moment where you woke up and thought like, okay, this is something, people are looking for this, they want to see this content, and it's making it? Was there a specific artist? Was there a specific song? What was the moment where you realized you were onto something?
Honestly, as far as these songwriting classes go, it was only about maybe a month ago. It was one of those shower thoughts you have. And I was like, the hell am I doing? Like, I have this opportunity to expand my classroom in a way that I never would have thought possible because of what I've sort of built here over the last 2 years. And it just seemed to me crazy that I wasn't doing that already. And so that was the thought. And then it was funny because after I had that thought, it wasn't too long after that all of a sudden, in the middle of the day, I'm teaching my freshman girls, and Lin Manuel Miranda shares my video on his story. And so that was like, I was like, it's an omen. I have to do this. So that's what, there you go.
There it is. Yes. He quit giving away my secrets, Brett. That would be a moment. That would be some moment where
that was a moment.
Well, I loved that video, and and the Moana videos are great too. I mean, you really do break down and show that the thought process and the science behind music. And congrats. It's so cool.
Oh,
it's such a cool idea.
It's so fun.
When you listen to music, is there a way that you departmentalize it? Are you always the songwriter who's breaking the songs down, or is there ever a moment where you're just like, I'm just going to have fun and listen to the song?
No, I do. I think to me, that's the mark of a really great song for me, is when I lose myself in it and I don't find myself thinking about any of that stuff. Then I'm trying. For example, I just have to say, last week I went to Theater Works in Hartford, and I saw a production of Fun Home there. And I hadn't seen the show live before. I was familiar with the score, but that night for the hour and a half that show was on, I was completely lost in it. Like, and to me, that's the mark of something truly great. And I can go back afterwards and analyze and do all that stuff, but I don't like doing that in the moment. That's not fun for me. What I want to do is sit there and just be taken in by something, same as anyone else.
No, yes, that is absolutely you emotionally get swept up by a score like that is something that's really special. But you also tell us when it's over that it's on purpose. They've done this on purpose to manipulate your feelings. No, so, and we can if you want him to sing you a song, if you want him to play you a song or break down a song or whatever, you can go to Cameo and grab a cameo from Brett. Go to cameo.com. He'll sit at the piano and your students must get a kick out of this. This must.
Oh my God, my students! I told them I was on Cameo. They were laughing, like they were falling to the floor laughing. To them, I'm just like, I'm old news,
Right? Well, this guy, but I totally get it. So, how do you departmentalize your day when you're in the classroom? You're doing this social media content and breaking down songs and teaching and all of that, but then you're also a songwriter. So, do you give yourself a chance to sit down and still write?
I do. It's very difficult. So I'm also in the middle of getting my master's degree in songwriting right now. So that's yet something else that I'm doing. But yeah, I'm actually right now I'm working on a movie musical for the New York Film Academy. So I'm making my way through that, sort of some 60s inspired tunes, some Joni Mitchell style stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
That's exciting. Do you have to sit down and schedule your songwriting, or is it something that comes to you?
I do have to schedule it. And that's one thing about being a professional songwriter, is that you can't just wait for inspiration to strike. You have deadlines to meet. And so you just have to get stuff done. And I find that if I sit down and force myself to do something will come.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too as well. Oh man, you're another one that makes me sit here and be like, maybe I need to get a pad and a pencil and start to think about
what are you waiting for?
I'm gonna have to fill out the survey. Teach me, help me, Brett. Help me. help. Um, all right. So what can we, do you have a little, can you give us a little preview of some of the videos that may be coming down the pike? There's some other songs that you get requests? I
I
know you
do.
get a lot of
I
requests.
do get a lot of requests. I make a running list of everything. Because I have so little time in the day, I get home and then whatever kind of comes to me in the moment, I'll sit down and be like, all right, I'll hammer it out. I do know I did cover Remember Me from Coco like a while back, but I think I'm going to do another updated video on that one. So that's coming soon. Other than that, I have no idea.
Nope, that's exciting. But also, who knows what's coming out and what new music will come
Exactly.
out and new.
Never ending content.
Brilliant. What a brilliant idea. It's such a brilliant. Well, if you're not one of the 300,000 people that are following him right now on TikTok, you can go to TikTok and you can, he's at Brett Boles, and you can actually see the MT. And then also, if you want to follow him on Instagram, it's the Brett Boles, and you can follow him on Instagram and get that cameo and fill out the survey so that maybe you
Yes.
can be in a Zoom class and you can break down the songs and write a song that matters to you as well. And who knows what will happen? Look, he just started breaking down songs. I have a friend, Brett, who
Mhm.
went to school, and he was the first person when I was in musical theater school and acting school. I had a friend who was going to Berkeley for songwriting, and he was like, I listened to Max Martin, the pop producer, everyone that wrote for Britney and whatever. And he goes, and there's a formula, and I've been breaking down the songs in the formula and how he makes songs that are catchy and that stay in our mind and are good for the radio. And I looked at him, I was 19 years old, and I looked at him and like, you are out of your damn mind. That is, no, it is not. And but it's true. There is kind of a formulaic pop style. And when people say, oh, that song sounds like the Beatles, or that song sounds like Joni Mitchell, or that song sounds like Andrew Lloyd Webber,
Yep.
is it because there is a certain, is it a chord structure? Is it a thematic style? What is it that makes us say that song sounds like so and so?
Yeah, it depends on the artist. A lot of them have for Joni Mitchell. To me, I feel like her lyrical imagery is so unique, and that's something that I almost think nobody does that as well as she did, or does. Actually, she's still around. So, yeah, sometimes it's lyrics, and sometimes it is music. Sometimes it's this sort of chord progression that a writer will like to use in different ways, or instrumentation sometimes is a thing that is immediately you notice, oh my god, that's whoever. It all comes down to like these little individuals. Sometimes they're very enigmatic and hard to pin down, like what makes someone sound like them. Actually, I was just doing I'm taking a brand identity course in grad school right now, and that's one of the things we're doing is looking at different artists and figuring out what is it about their sound that kind of makes them uniquely
Mm.
them. And so I was looking at Billy Joel, for example, because he's one of my favorite songwriters of all time. And it's that, for me and him, as I was looking at it, it was like this, he has this kind of, since he's a classically trained pianist, he has this kind of Baroque style of accompaniment that he does, but that's also interspersed with this blues and jazz harmonic progressions. And then you get the guitar and the bass that kind of gives you the attitude of his harder rock numbers. And so all those things together, I think, kind of make him him. And every artist is sort of like that in their own different way.
Yeah, I was thinking of, that's so weird, because as we were having this whole conversation, in the back of my head, I kept thinking about Billy Joel on Sirius Radio when he had his channel, would talk about how he would write a song, and whenever he got stuck, he would always try to find his way back to the keys and chords that he was the most comfortable playing. And he was like, I there's favorite chords that I kind of lead my way back. And it was really one of the first times I noticed, like, there is an intentional real art form and skill to writing a song. It's not just, let's just sit down and,
There sure is.
there sure is. Well, you're a pleasure. I don't know how you do it. You're like a Renaissance man. I relate. We're on the grind and the hustle.
That's it. That's it.
um, and when it's in you and you have that bug that bites you and you want to do this stuff, it's a blessing and a curse. So I relate. I relate to you. Your students are very lucky, and we're all lucky that you're sharing all of this with us. We'll be following, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.